This one today's is going to be on all the people that I've known in my life that are now gone, that are not with us. Started out at a young age at 15. I was in class with this guy, Dave. Dave was at a friend of ours' house, a good friend of ours, Scott H. He was over there with his girlfriend, Kim. They were having an argument in the basement. She broke up with him. She walks upstairs to go hang out with Scott, and they hear a gunshot. Boom. Go down there. He shot himself in the head. Bullet went through him, through the wall, into the neighbor's garage, into the neighbor's wall, where it was lodged in. So this kid was next to me, sat right next to me in class, so this was a little bit disturbing. You know, the teacher had somebody come in, I think it was a psychologist or some kind of specialist, to talk to us about grieving, dealing with, etc. This was before I attempted suicide and wound up in rehab myself. While I was in rehab, I was in there for about 7 months before I was released to go home. I was stuck at this place, had to eat, sleep, whatever. I couldn't go home from there and was held against my will pretty much for 6 months. After 6 months, my parents' insurance lapsed, or what wasn't going to cover it anymore, so they had to cut me free. This place is like more expensive than college, right? Like $5,000 a week or something. So I get to go back home, but now I got to come back to this place day patient. So I'm coming back to this place during the day now. Now I get to go home, and I'm in a class, and it's like probably 5, 6 of us, like 2, 3 guys, 2, 3 girls. Small group, just a few of us, and we all got somewhat close with each other because they forced you to talk about your problems, get to the heart and the root of why you were there, etc. So you were forced to say, share about yourself, embarrassing personal stuff that you normally don't. When you get put in these kind of situations, you usually bond and close with people rather quickly than you would, say, just regular friends. It's kind of a different scenario. So I get tight with this group of kids, and one of the guys in there was this guy, and he was a perfectionist, right? He was what they call a perfectionist, could never be happy. Dad pushed him and pushed him. He was the quarterback of his high school. He was whatever valedictorian is. He had a scholarship for football already. Like your all-American guy, right? Good-looking dude, nice car, wealthy parents, good-looking girlfriend, had a good shape to him. He worked out, was cut up, 6 foot tall, good-looking kid. From the outside looking in, looked like he had the perfect little life. So one day he goes home and he blows his head off with a shotgun, okay? So he does this, and this is evening news. This is a big story when these kind of things happen, and it happened a few times while I was at this facility, and the news would come and try to get a story. This was made the night news. This kid killed himself with a shotgun. David something or other has mangled his face. It was like exploding a watermelon, right? Closed casket, no reconstructive, nothing to ever look normal. So I go back into this rehab the next day, and when I get there, they automatically shimmy me off back into inpatient. So now they put me on suicide watch because they think maybe I'm suicidal because of this. And so I'm put in a gown for a week, and I'm pretty much locked back up. It was humiliating, embarrassing. Now here I am back with the people I was just friends with and hanging out with, because there were still a lot of people in the inpatient that I had been with previously. I'm around all these people, but now I'm wearing a hospital gown, if you know what that is, like where your butt's hanging out. Took my shoestrings, put me on suicide watch, basically made me look like a dunce in front of everybody. So when I got done with that, I was angry, bent out of shape. When I got back home, my parents told me they were going to lay new law and rules on me. I broke down. They sent me a state mental hospital where I watched real life state psychotic facility where the real crazies are. Watched two people try to kill themselves right in front of me inside of a week. One guy hung himself. This black guy was hanging from the sprinkler system, my bunkmate, and they barely got him down. He was starting to flop like a fish, and they gurneyed him out. I never seen him again, but that doesn't mean he lived or survived. There's no telling. He could have lived or died. He was flopping like a fish, and they cut him down, and they made us all go away so we couldn't see what was going on. Don't know what happened to the kid. There's another guy who was in there, and I was in the bathroom with him, and this guy had all kind of problem, all kind of legal issues, and we were young, you know. He couldn't have been 16, 17. I'm 15. He busts the glass and takes this like piece of glass, plastic. They have like these mirrors, kind of like in gas stations. Busts it, grabs it, starts whacking his wrists, right? Blood spewing all over the place. Guy tried to kill himself right in front of me. He's crying, carrying on, blood spurting all over the place. It got on me. It was a horrible thing to witness. That was my first little endeavors with watching this kind of crazy shit, right? So going on through life, since then, I've had all kind of friends die on me. I had a friend, Preston, and I don't want to say his last name, but just saying that name, there's thousands of people know I'm talking about. He supposedly died, OD'd in a drug house. I don't like spreading rumors, but is what it is. He supposedly OD'd in a drug house years ago. Joel Saxon was a good friend of ours. He's just passed away few years ago. He was a guy we all went to school with. He passed away from cancer. I moved school districts from 5th going into the 6th grade, so I completely had to re-meet a whole new group of people, and Joel was the first person I met when I went to this new school, and it was in this new school district. This guy, Joel Saxon, was real nice, friendly, heart of gold. He welcomed me and made me feel at home. He died recently. Well, it's been a couple of years now due to cancer. Another friend of ours died a few years ago, Randy Hart. A good friend of mine, Mike K, is all I'm going to say. Mentioned him the other day. Him and Mike were very good, were very close, best of friends. Jerry Jurgensen, he lived down the street from us growing up. He was in LD class with me all growing up. He died 2 years ago. My wife's cousin's wife, Sherry, just passed away, and could have been in her middle, late 30s. Horrible situation. Got 2 young kids. She's passed away. My brother-in-law's brother is passed away. I try not to go into details with too much with some of this, but let's just say my sister, from the way I lived, my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, they used to have, like, just personal bets. Who's going to go to jail first, me or him? My brother-in-law's his brother, probably similar to me, from what I'm envisioning, addiction problems, whatnot. My sister and her husband are always making bets who's going to go to jail first and who's going to die first. Well, I won. Sam and Cheryl was my parents' best friends. They just passed away this past year. Their best friends are gone now. They had 2 sets of best friends. Had Cheryl and Sam, and Gertie and Hugh. Cheryl and Sam just passed away, both of them recently, and Gertie's 2 sons have now passed away. One by having a shootout with the police, which he brought upon himself. So, some more wacky shit. My good friend Scooter, he lost both his daughters recently. I haven't even asked. I don't think it's respectful or honorable. I can only imagine. Scott had twins, 2 daughters, right? The exact same time I had my son Colin. My son Colin's 21 now. He had twins, babies. They're both gone now. It's terrible. Two of my close friends growing up, one was Adam, as I'll say. His mom was murdered when we were young. I have two friends whose parents were murdered. Got another friend of mine, Anthony. His mom was murdered off Windy Hill Road. Just a a burglar out of nowhere come into, I think it was Papa Do's, one of these nice restaurants in the parking lot, and guy came up and was gonna rob them and steal their car, and shot and killed my buddy's mom. And another friend of mine lost his mom at a very young age. Me and Adam go way back. He was at my bar mitzvah. That's how long we've been friends, and I've known him. Just recently, what really kicked me off was my friend Aaron McDowell. Me and Aaron have been friends since about 6th grade when I first moved to this new school district. Aaron had the same kind of problems as me, LD. Me and Aaron were in LD classes all together growing up. And so, even after school, we both wound up in a kind of a rehab facility for, people mentally unstable. Let me put it like that. Aaron killed himself 2 or 3 months ago now. Maybe 4 now. This is what really kicked it off. This is what made me start doing videos, wanting to start a nonprofit, was Aaron. He was the closest one to my heart, pretty much out of all of them. Me and Aaron were tight. There's about 4 or 5 of us. Me, my friend Donnie, JP, and Kevin, and Nikki, and Mandy. We had this little group, the 5, 6 of us. We used to hang out every night for years and party and smoke and drink and play music and da-da-da-da-da. We were all very, very tight. Me and Aaron, because the situations we had been in together, were even more tight. So he just killed himself recently, and that's, that hurts, that burns, stings. I died with I watched 2 people. I watched one guy. I was in jail. I witnessed 3 people to die in a year from the same one jail incident that kind of branched out. When I first go into this place, I met this guy, Mike Adams. We click. We immediately become best of friends, and we're eating breakfast every morning with a good friend of his, and every morning it's me, Mike, and his buddy. I can't remember his buddy's name, but anyways, we're sitting there talking. We, have every meal together. Well, this guy had gotten hold of some bad speed and had gotten cancer or something, tumor of the brain. They were taking him out of the jail and taking him to Emory University every Thursday, right, to get treatments. One Thursday, they missed the appointment. The jail didn't take him. That morning that he missed the appointment and came to breakfast, he was like not incognito, like not even there. He couldn't even talk. He didn't have any expressions on his face. All he could do is eat. You could tell something was really off and wrong. Went to his room, dropped dead the following morning. I'm not going to say what the deal is that he would have lived or he would have been non-catatonic. Say if he would have made it to his appointment. I don't know any of those details. The only details I knew and know is that when we were in Cherokee County Jail together, this guy's wife was in the jail at the same time with us, and she was pregnant. She was having her kid in the jail. They were both boyfriend and girlfriend were in the same jail together. His wife had a girlfriend to be pregnant with his kid. Had to get this from what they call a kite. Okay, a kite is a letter they make in jail and send through the chain. She finds out that he's dead in a kite. So that's one first off the board. I'm in this maximum security. I'm in there for a couple months. I get bonded out. I'm not supposed to be with my wife. Bond revoked. Go back into maximum security. Excuse me. The first time Mike Adams was in there, on the second visit coming back, I was doing we was doing like a religious sermon with a bunch of guys. We were doing a Bible study, and it was like 6 or 7 of us, and we were in a circle, and we had each other's arms like over each other's shoulders. Do like a circle prayer together. I put my arm around this guy and pray for him. This 20-year-old kid, he's going home in 2 weeks. Asked us to each individually asked us all to pray for him. So we prayed for him. We get done with the group. It's lockdown time. It's 9:30. We get locked down. Before the guard even has time to walk around the pod one time, our doors are literally just shut like a minute, maybe 2 minutes prior. The guard that walks around your unit, he walks around a circle in the dorm, right? He goes around from door to door, and he peeks in. There's a see-through glass in the door, so they peek in on you, and they do count. You walk by and make sure there's 2 guys in every cell. You have to stand up and be counted. The guard's not even made it around. There's 2 tiers, there's an upstairs and downstairs. The cop walks around the whole bottom tier, then he goes up to the second tier, right? He's not even got done with the first tier, and boom, 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 you're pounding on the door. We've been locked down for a total of like under 2 minutes now, and the guy, the 20-year-old that I just done a prayer for, his bunkmates pounding and pounding on the door. The guy got in hold of some psych meds, they call it chain gang cocaine, went right in there after our prayer meeting, chopped that shit up, snorted it, dropped dead right there right on the spot, killed him instantly. The bunkmates banging on the doors. They come, and the detectives come, and cops come, and they drag this kid out into the middle of the pod, right? I'm up on the second tier. Okay, so this kid's laying and he's dead. And he's flat out on the floor, and he's got this dead look on his face, and it looks like he's looking at me. And it was freaky, I'd just been with him a few minutes, and now here he is dead. And so they took him up out of there, did the same thing that I've seen and dealt with quite a few times. They have psychologists and specialists come in and talk to everyone, make sure you're not suicidal. Okay, so I get out, I get my life back together, and this guy, Mike Adams, that I met the first time, we become best of friends, right? He got me a job, I moved in. When I went into jail, I lost everything. I lost not just valuable personal belongings, but it killed me, not just financially, but legally. I couldn't get an apartment, couldn't do jack. I had these 2 felonies over my record, and I literally couldn't even get an apartment, let alone a pot to piss in, which is something I could have done very easily prior to having these, violent charges of spanking my kids. It was horrific. Anyways, me and this guy, Mike Adams, become best friends, right? We lived together, we worked together, we were that close and tight, best friends. He goes to the lake one day. Before that, him and his girlfriend are on again, off again. They've been boyfriend, girlfriend since childhood friends. They played together, as little kids. They've known each other this long. She ups and moves to Florida, tells him that she wants him to come with her, but if he doesn't come, so be it. Like I said, they're on again, off again. So he's he's been to prison twice, so they've been through hell together. Long story short, she's cheating on him. He loses his cool. He goes out, he ODs and dies. Monday morning comes around, he doesn't show up. We don't know what's up. We're calling around looking for him. No words. And we work together. No word of Mike. So my buddy Steve, one of the guys we worked with, went to by his house. His next door neighbor was his aunt. I think it was his aunt. Mike rented an apartment in Marietta from. Well, his aunt had that apartment and one next to it. So when Steve went to Mike's apartment, their neighbors came out, which was actually relatives of Mike. It was his cousin and something or other. Their neighbors came out and told him what happened. Mike was at the hospital, and he wasn't going to make it. So we get word of this. There was four of us. Me, Steve, David, and Mike. Me and David and Steve get off work. We go up to the hospital that night. The girlfriend that had up and left him and went to Florida, she's now come back. She's now walking around the hospital doing circles. She's been there for 2 days. All right. She's whacked out. She's strung out on drugs before all this. So was Mike. He wasn't when we first both got out of jail. Was getting his life straightened out. Was trying to take care of things. He hadn't seen his kid. He was working on himself, working on things. But he collapsed, and he's at the hospital, and he's declared no brain function. They basically just got him hooked up to a machine, right? They have his heart pumping, hooked up to a machine, just in enough time so out-of-town relatives can come and say their goodbyes, right? His girlfriend has come now from Florida. They're telling me she's been walking around this hospital for 2 days. She hasn't slept. All she's done is cried and cried and cried. They've had paramedics up there. I mean, they feel bad. The girl's, she's lost her marbles now. And not only is she on dope, but she's taking this internally like this is her fault. And I don't want to say that it is, but a small portion of it is. So I go into the hospital to see Mike, and he's already dead, but like I said, he's just hooked up to a machine. And his mom, there's a bunch of people in there, and his mom and his relatives and all the people that had made it so far from out of town. So when I go in there, his mom tells me, why don't you give Mike a good kiss on the head goodbye? And when I did, no, I can't. So I kissed him on the head, and he was already dead. Gotta go. Had an interruption. Thanks. Catch you on the next one.